Hey guys, Mike here. We got down to Central Jersey because of a video that a witness sent us regarding track finds. He did a good job documenting what was needed to, but one thing he didn't do was cast a track of them. So what I'm going to show you today is like very basic track casting 101. Here I have a replica of the Patterson-Gimlin cast that I bought off Dr. Meldrum. And what I'm going to do is make the cast in this little tub of play sand that I have. Now these are, granted, ideal circumstances for finding a track. You're probably not going to find anything this perfect out in the field, but it's important to get the basics down, because once you have the basics, then you're going to be good casting in the field. My suggestion is, before you go out, if you're bored one day, pick up some casting material and just cast it, because cast your own foot, cast an animal track, anything that you have is going to be beneficial to, if you do find something in the field, or when it's the real deal, if you will. So I'm just going to build up the edges around here. You won't have the ability to do this in the field, but since this is going to be a recast, I have that option. And take it out, nice and easy, and boom, there's my cast. Alright, so it's important that I messed this up once already. So like I said, that's why it's important that you practice. But what I have for casting is I have a Ziploc bag. This is what you're going to use to mix the hydrocal in. Also, I have water bottles filled of hydrocal. I use hydrocal because it's a very strong material and relatively cheap. You could use plaster of Paris. They sell that at any hardware store that you go to, but I am using the hydrocal because it's one of the, like I said, one of the strongest solutions that we could use. So what we do, I always carry at least one water bottle full of hydrocal when I go out hiking, and I always have access to more, whether it be at home or in the car. One bottle of hydrocal will you'll get a, it's not going to cover a lot, but it'll, at least you have it. It's better than nothing, because that way, in case the track's disturbed when you go back, or if it rains, at least you'll have something for it. So what I do first, open the Ziploc bag, have water. You can use stream water, it doesn't need to be drinking water. And you add that into the bag, making sure you get it everywhere in the process. This, I'm going to add a little bit more because it's a big track. This also is going to be to show if there's any, if you have any leaks in the bag. If you have some leaks in the bag, then you're going to lose casting material, which is not fun. So then what you do, I wear gloves too, just because I like to get dirty, but when casting it's sticky and dirty, which in some situations is alright. But anyway, so simply pour the casting material into the water, into your Ziploc bag. There are formulas for how much you should put in. However, you're not going to have access to them, or at least you probably won't in the field. So the way I do it is, you can always add more hydrocal and you can always add more water. You want to get a good base, and the base you want is kind of like almost like a pancake or milkshake-like consistency. Keep in mind, while doing this, you are on a time frame, because hydrocal will set in about 20 to 30 minutes. So you want to make sure that you have enough on standby and ready to go. As you can see, just for the amount of water I added, which was not much, I already used one full water bottle of hydrocal. And I don't think that's going to be quite enough to cover this track. Again, this is a fairly perfect track. It's deep, it's long. The important part is too, as you see I'm kneading this. The hydrocal does kind of solidify pretty quick, so you want to make sure that it doesn't do that while it's still in the bag. Also, you're looking for any sort of bumps or bulges that you have in the bag. A lot of times will settle down in this area. You don't want that because that's going to potentially harm the cast or harm your track. Another, as I'm mixing this up, I'm just going to keep talking a little bit. Excuse me. If you do come across a track in the field, it's very important that you document. You want to document the track before you even consider casting it, and that's just because if the casting fails or it doesn't come out good, you have some documentation of it. You want to photograph it from different angles, always with a scale object. If there's two prints, you want to do the stride length, which is the distance in between the tracks, the width of it, the height of it, and then with the width you want to do both the sole of the foot, kind of down the sole area, and then also up top right below the footprints if there are any. You also want to document the area that it was found. Take a picture of where the tracks are coming from, where they're going. And also keep in mind too that if you do find a track, there's got to be another one somewhere. So keep in mind that it could have jumped, or it could have did like a quick little double step. There are some things in the wild that will cause something to look like a Sasquatch track. When bear step, the way their front and their back paw lands does look like a human footprint. With the bear though, you're always going to have claw marks. Bears have non-retractable claws. Bigfoots don't have claws. Also people, there's those shoes things that look like foot. And that's, I'm sure, a common misidentification of a Bigfoot track. So I'm almost through my second water bottle full of hydrocal, and it's getting to about the consistency that we like it. Again, I'm just kneading. There are some little bumps in here, just want to get them out of there. For a track this size too, it's important to note that it's going to take some time to pour it, so if your consistency gets too hard, then you're not going to be able to cover the track in time. So this is actually a little on the watery side. Add a little bit more in there. And again, this is a time thing, so if you need more material, you can always add more water and hydrocal to this. Then you want to make sure that you have that accessible, and you can do that within the couple minutes that it takes for this to really start hardening out. Also important to note that if hydrocal, well, any sort of plaster material that you mix, it's when it starts to cool down, it warms up. Actually gets up to, I believe, like 400 or something degrees. So if you're casting on any snow, then that's going to melt the snow. Sorry about that, it's my phone. There are ways to cast in the snow. Hairspray is a good one. Put down like 6 or so layers of hairspray, light layers, so that way you don't mess up any details in the cast. And then pour your casting material over it. Alright, this is looking pretty good. Also, it's important, like if you do find a track in the field, it may be on an incline. So if it is on an incline, then what you want to do is kind of build up the back, or even with any cast, you should build up the outsides of the cast. If it's on a big incline, you can get cardboard. Just make a cardboard little mold around it, so that way it kind of sets. I'm going to do this because it's a recast. Don't do this to a cast in the field. But I'm just very lightly getting these cracks out of it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is very easily take the bag and start pouring it right into the cast. Try to get the bag as close to the cast you can without disrupting it, because the weight of the hydrocal is going to disrupt any of the details that you have. You want to start in the lowest point of the cast and make sure you cover the base of the cast first. Also important, get the toes, let it like drip into the toes, because that could be some very the details that you don't want to disrupt during the toes. If you have extra casting material left over, then go ahead and build it up a little bit. Make it as thick as you want to. Just keep in mind, the thicker it is, the longer it's going to take to dry. You can see the solution is already getting a little thick. But doing it this way is good because it'll conform to the mold of the track and get any of those, if you're lucky enough to get dermal ridges in the track, it'll pick them up. So that looks pretty good. What I also do in the field is I bring these wooden dowels. You can pick them up pretty much wherever. A little closer here. What I do is I just measure about how big the track is, break it off, and just slide it down into the track, kind of making sure not to go the entire depth of it, but just enough to it'll give it some support, so that way it just will, you have the less chance of it breaking. And you want to cover those sticks up too to give it a little bit more support all the way around the stick. You can smooth out the areas so it's nice and flat. Now it depends on what casting material you're using. Hydrocal takes about 20 to 30 minutes to fully dry, and they say that under perfect circumstances. These are pretty perfect circumstances. Things that can affect your drying time are going to be the soil moisture, the humidity outside, if it's cloudy, if it's sunny, if it's raining. I've had cast in the rain before, and you want to just, as soon as you find the track, you want to get an umbrella or cover it up with your plastic bag or something, and you can still cast in the rain. That's not a problem. Another thing too is, what I like to do when I go out in the field is, if I have the opportunity to leave it for, I try to leave it for as long as possible. Like overnight is probably the best, but what you want to do too is also get a part of your wooden dowel, or if you have a like a paper clip or something, before it's fully dried, just put your initials into it. The date that it's casted, 4/24/16, the location, I'm not going to put a location, but the location and any other pertinent information. If you're casting multiple tracks, very important to write in what track that that is the cast of it, so that way you can put them out later and see exactly where it was and what pattern. I think that's about it. Like I said, this is going to take, it's beautiful conditions out, so it's not going to take too long to dry. But we will check back in when it's dried, and I'll show you how to remove it. All right, so it's been about an hour, and we're back. Now the big thing about casting and lifting a cast is you have to do it very delicately. Since this is sand, it's not going to be too big of an issue. I could just pretty much pull it out. But if you have some very muddy areas or just really kind of nasty rocks and stuff, you got to be very careful pulling it out. I've taken literally chunks of dirt in my car home in order to clean it off. You want to dig down around it. Like again, for this one it's very simple because it's just, I mean, you could basically pull it out. But you can see on your back you have the information that we did, and on your front here's your cast. All you need to do now, take a little brush to it, put some water under it,